If you can't fix it with duct tape, then you ain't used enough duct tape.
Hi, I'm Andrei Mincov, the founder of Trademark Factory, and in this video I'm going to share my thoughts about yet another trademarking screw-up. It's a new bar, Double Dragon, which now can't call themselves Double Dragon Barcade. But let me read it from the article, and you can find the link in the description below. Why you can't call it a barcade. Sean Thornton was a week away from opening his new business, Double Dragon Barcade in Fort Wayne, Indiana, when the company's Facebook page abruptly shut down. Alarmed that the business's followers were suddenly lost to the ether, he reached out to the social media platform to find out what was going on. And Facebook moderators directed Thornton to an attorney for Brooklyn-based arcade bar chain Barcade. Thornton claims the lawyers informed him by phone that the company was just hours from filing a lawsuit against his fledgling arcade bar for trademark infringement. Thornton offered Barcade compensation for using the trademark, but was giving a firm no. Facing the prospect of expensive legal fees, Thornton climbed up to the Double Dragon Barcade sign and slapped black duct tape over the B. From there on, the business would be referred to as Double Dragon Arcade, at least by its owners. Nearly every arcade bar owner in the country, or reporter who has written about an arcade bar concept for that matter, seems to have a story about an encounter with Barcade or its attorneys. Barcade was founded in 2004 and filed a trademark for the word, a portmanteau of bar and arcade, in 2007. The mark is considered incontestable, meaning that it has been in use for at least 5 years, hasn't been made generic, and is thus virtually immune to legal challenge. Since then, the company has registered roughly 35 trademarks total in the US and abroad, including in Australia, Canada, China, and Korea. Every time the Barcade hashtag is used on social media, that too is infringing upon Barcade's trademark. Well, that one is unlikely because, again, mentioning somebody else's brand, I've been saying this over and over again, mentioning somebody else's brand name on social media or otherwise is usually not considered trademark infringement unless you're doing it in such a way as to create an impression that you're somehow representing the brand or affiliated with a brand or associated with a brand as you're trying to sell that product. Okay, as diligent as the company is at registering marks, it also become notorious for enforcing those trademark rights and aggressively rooting out unauthorized usages. Well, what's the point of registering your trademarks if you're not enforcing them against somebody infringing it, right? Alright, so Thornton says he was aware of other arcade bars around the country, but hadn't realized that the term barcade didn't fall under fair use. I thought it was just a standard word for a genre or a type of establishment as you would explain a bar and grill. He says, I thought it was a generalization of the type of place that it was. Other bar owners similarly claimed unawareness that the word barcade wasn't part of the general lexicon. When Tom Hansen confirmed plans in January to open a taco bar and arcade called Taco Barcade in Duluth, Minnesota, the last thing he was expecting was an email from a Brooklyn-based arcade bar chain who didn't really have any intention to infringe upon something, he says, but I assumed that the term barcade was common knowledge. Not so. The interaction with Barcade left a bad taste in Thornton's mouth. The biggest part was not being able to communicate with our potential customers that we had started building a rapport with already, it says, noting that he had to build a new Facebook page and request that Barcade release the original page so the two could be merged. The process took roughly 3 weeks from the initial interaction with Barcade. For its part, Barcade says that asking a business to change its name to Arcade Bar, Beercade, or some other variation of the booze and gaming contraction is usually relatively painless. Brandon Carr, owner of Buffalo's Quarter Restaurant and Bar, says he was contacted by Barcade representatives when he unveiled a new arcade bar wing called the Llama Lounge Barcade. Carr says in messages to Eater that the Quarter was unaware of the Barcade trademark, but willingly made the changes. They were very nice about it, and I was very happy to respect it and make the changes promptly, he writes. Occasionally, though, use of the word Barcade does result in a lawsuit, as in the case of King's, a bar and music venue in Raleigh, North Carolina. King's Barcade originally opened in 1999, several years before Barcade debuted in Brooklyn. However, the original King's was forced to shutter in 2007 to make way for a new parking deck on the property. 3 years later, the business tried to make a comeback with its original name, sans actual arcade games. Barcade, now in possession of the Barcade trademark, filed a lawsuit forcing the bar to abandon use of the term. King's ultimately agreed to settle. King's has not been using the term Barcade actively for many years, so it was really more of a legacy thing for us since the word did appear in our website address and in some social media, co-owner Ben Barwick told Triangle Business Journal at the time. According to Barcade's owners, managing the name has become an equally big problem. It's one of the greatest things I've thought of and also just one of the biggest headaches I've got myself into, says Barcade co-founder and CEO Paul Kermizian. He, alongside partners Kevin and Scott Beard and Pete Langway, came up with the name during a period when arcade bars were relatively uncommon. At the time, he recalls that there were only 2 businesses in the United States using the term as a descriptor. By 2007, both of those arcade bars had closed, opening the doors for Barcade to file a trademark. Now let me make a comment on this right away. You don't have to have invented the word to claim it as your trademark. All you have to do is be the one who is uniquely recognized or who can be uniquely recognized under that brand at the time you file for that trademark. Again, Apple did not invent the word Apple. It doesn't matter that the term Barcade was invented by somebody else. What matters is that this particular venue, this particular establishment, were smart enough to capitalize on it before it started gaining popularity. And so they trademark it and now they own it. Great job. Barcade didn't plan to open so many locations. The company didn't open a second arcade bar until 2011. Rather, Kermizian says he sought to trademark the moniker because its simplicity and descriptiveness was a key asset that needed to be protected. It tells you everything about your experience that you're going to have at one of our locations without having to really explain anything, he says. Now, that's the worst thing you can say about your brand. Your brand is not supposed to be descriptive. It could be suggestive, but when you admit that your brand is descriptive, you could potentially be digging your grave, because descriptive trademarks should not be registered and certainly not registered on the principal register. So again, be very careful with what you say about your brand. Saying that it gives people an idea, a suggestion is okay. Saying that it tells them everything is a big problem, a big no-no. Don't do that. In the past several years, As the arcade bar trend has caught on nationwide, managing the trademark has become a huge effort on the part of the company. In 2018, the company dealt with 245 unique cases of trademark infringement, ranging from arcade bars using the term in social media posts to descriptions on websites and Facebook pages. So again, it's not about the hashtag, it's about using the hashtag to refer to an establishment that's not run by the barcade. Okay? So the company now employs a full-time intellectual property support manager whose job it is to contact businesses misusing the mark. Good for them. Nobody likes getting an email telling them they can't use a specific word, and it's not lost on Kermesian that some bar owners think barcade is being unreasonable. Some, such as Rock Fire Arcade Bar in Kansas City, Missouri, air their grievances with social media posts, denouncing lawsuits as dull and boring and sharing photos of barcades, cease and desist letters. You should see some of the nastiness people sent to our intellectual property manager in response to her polite initial email, Kermesian says. Still, he says, it's a slippery slope. If barcade allows one business to use its mark, more will start to infringe, and he's 100% right. He's 100% right. That's something he gotta do to make sure the name does not become generic, and the name does not become abused. The original barcade mark is registered under at least 8 different classes, categories of products and services used by USPTO to organize marks, ranging from restaurant services to business management to burgers to beer. It's typically in the best interest of a new business to distance itself from a trademark holder like Barcade in the event that the new business wants to grow into multiple locations. Nobody benefits from a watered down mark. Very true. When individuals fail to respond to messages and emails from Barcade, the attorney steps in. If the individual misusing Barcade still doesn't respond, it can escalate to a lawsuit. They kind of ignore the letter, just hoping it'll go away, and they don't quite realize the seriousness of the issue until they get sued. Those cases are relatively rare, occurring roughly once or twice a year. And think about this. Those cases don't happen because they have all of those trademarks. So they show them that there's no way this other side is going to win, or there's no way this other side is going to get away with that. Because they have all those registered trademarks, all they have to do is just send that demand letter and say, here, we're going to win. Surrender. Do the smart thing and don't send good money after bad. And sometimes you'd have to go to court, but if they didn't have a registered trademark, they wouldn't have been able to enforce anything, right? It would all have to go to court, and probably they'd be losing more than they'd be winning. According to their trademark attorney, the offending party nearly always settles quickly after speaking with a trademark attorney. Hansen was somewhat fortunate. His nascent taqueria and arcade bar, now called Taco Arcada, only had to adjust its social media presence and update its logo. Still, he wonders whether his small-town arcade bar really posed a threat to an arcade bar with locations in major metropolitan areas. I don't think in Duluth, Minnesota, one restaurant named Barcade is going to do anything, and they're all legal probably, but I think they waste a lot of time and effort. Now, wrong. You may not be competing with them from the restaurant services, but you're certainly competing with them on the strength of the brand they're building. So, which is why they go after you. They're not afraid that you're gonna serve some of their potential customers. They're afraid that you're gonna kill the value that they've built in their brand. Barcade, which is set to open 4 more locations over the next 2 years, obviously disagrees. Sometimes we get people who are adamant about their geographic location, and there couldn't be confusion because they're in some small town in Missouri and we're not anywhere near them. Kermesian says, if we let them slide because we're not worried about the small town, then all of a sudden there's 20 places like this. 100% right. Back in Missouri, the Double Dragon has just marked its first anniversary. Thornton says the arcade bar is doing well despite the initial hiccup with Barcade. He hasn't heard from Barcade since the incident. Despite removing the illicit term from his signage, menus, and social media, patrons still occasionally refer to the venue as a barcade, he says. I can't stop my customers from still calling us Double Dragon Barcade, but as long as I don't promote it as Barcade, I'm free to go about business. Yes. Now, here's the big lesson here. All of this long article, there's one big lesson. If you're starting a business, spend a couple of $100 and get a professional to do a proper trademark search that will confirm to you whether or not you can use the name. And don't start this business under this name if you can't start this business under that name. As much as you like the name, if somebody had already trademarked it, it's a surefire way to get yourself in trouble. Go back to the drawing board and come up with something else. I know it's painful. We see people like that, we see brand owners like that all the time when they do the search with us and we tell them it's not doable. I understand it's painful, but it's a lot less painful to change your brand early on versus after you've built the business, after you've become known, after people started following you. So first thing you want to do, before you do anything else, get somebody to check for you whether the name is available. And if it is, protect it right away. There's no reason on earth to spend a minute of your life or $1 of your money trying to build a brand that you don't own. Now, if this is useful, subscribe now, get notified whenever the next video goes live. If you're already subscribed, great. Comment below, let me know what you think. Maybe you got another story I haven't covered yet. Let me know what it is and I'll look into it. And if you got a brand that you want to protect and you're serious about doing something about your brand and doing something about your business, go to trademarkfactory.com right now, book a call with our strategy advisors, and they'll help you get this process started. And until then, I'll see you in the next video.